blessed unity with the L-O-V-E. Love is the solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. Further evolution and blessed unity.
Good morning, self-lovers. Welcome back to the Self-Love Show. I'm your co-host, Dawn Light, and this is my beautiful sister. We've been doing this together for 3 years, Trish Wright. So I just want to say thank you to every person out there that has participated in the Self-Love Show, watched it, liked it, shared it. You know, we just want to give a big shout out to you. Thank you, because self-love is so key ingredient to happiness in life and our connection to source, spirit, God. And that's really the driving factor of this show and our love together, is to help you move into a place of greater capacity of loving in every area of your life. And so, in case you know and don't know, the Self Love Show is on all the platforms. So I just want to encourage you to check it out and check out our previous content and share it with your loved ones, because we want to expand the vibration of love. It's a frequency, and it's who we are in our most, innate, authentic part of ourself is loving love. And so that's God is love. And so why not share and relish and enjoy that vibration every moment of our lives? And so without further ado, we're going to have a juicy conversation, really about the barriers that keep us from that, experiencing that. And those are called judgment, right? And so today, Trish is going to lead us through a beautiful show, and let us delve into the intricacies of judgment and shaming. In this episode, we explore how our judgments reflect our inner values and needs for comfort and safety, often hindering our ability to love and accept ourselves and others fully. So discover how to practice of empathy can dissolve barriers, fostering understanding and connection beyond surface level judgments. Through thought-provoking discussion, we can begin to uncover the damaging impact of shame and its role in perpetuating social norms. By embracing radical acceptance and curiosity, we learn to soften our perspectives, recognize shared needs, and celebrate the uniqueness of human expression. So join us today, right now, in our discovery of compassionate growth as we explore strategies to transform judgment into empathy and cultivate a more connected, inclusive world. So Trish is an intimacy and relationship coach whose heart-centered approach prioritizes cultivating deeper, intimate connections. She educates her clients on intimacy and relationships while providing insightful strategies to resolve conflicts and increase connection. She's been trained in various methods such as psychotropic breathwork, nonviolent communication, BDSM, sacred sensual practices, and holistic hypnosis. These tools have given her extensive knowledge necessary to help her clients achieve their true potential for healthy sex education, sex coaching, and relationships. Through her work dispelling codependent and trauma bonds, she equips individuals with the power to repattern old habits into empowered decisions. Yes, when it comes to intimacy coaching, check out Trish. And so she'll put her links in the comments box soon. But Trish is an amazing coach, and I know she's helping transform lives. So without further ado, let's jump into the conversation of judging and shaming. Tell me more.
Well, this topic is coming up in such a perfect time. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Scott.
Time, because there's what I'm noticing is that as we start to kind of push against other people's self-expression, it stimulates something inside of us, right? So we just went through Pride, and some of you saw my post about being a dude, and some people have feelings about that. Some people also have feelings about, we'll say, politics or religious beliefs or another person's sexuality or even self-expression. And that's where we're getting
what
to this.
What coffee you drink? Opinions on everything.
Yeah, exactly. And so remember, we all have opinions about it, and our opinions and our judgments are pointers to our reality, are pointers to our values and our needs. And that's purely that. So what I've been noticing in the world, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I have my own judgments too. And that's what helps us discern and make the decisions that's best for us, right? But there's been a couple moments of like judgment and shaming, which often go hand in hand, right? You know, judging and shaming. And I often think, for what purpose? Why? Why am I judging this person? Like I'll actually like, what is it inside of me that is stimulated by whatever it is that they're doing? And why do I need to control them to make me feel safe? That is the question I often ask when I feel judgment on another person. And I don't know about you, Dawn, but it seems like if someone comes to judge me, I often want to push back. So we learn that through other people's judgments or shaming us for our authentic expression, especially if we're not harming anyone, even if we believe that we're harming someone, if we're not actually physically, emotionally harming someone, if we're, if we're not physically harming them, or if we are just being our radical selves, that one will shame us into conformity with their own values, with social values, and that's one of the foundations of society, right? Is like, so society has laws and rules and ways of behavior, and we've got the laws, and then there's other things like acceptable social behaviors, and then how we actually like get that involved is that we shame each other into participating into either our familial or societal or organizational ways of being. That's how it works. So shame is a really powerful tool in most organized societies, whether it's religion or whether it's governments or whether it's even within the family. Shame has been used for many years to force people out of their authentic expression into conformity with the group, with the in-group.
Well, the way I see it is the ego is seeking control. When shame or judgment is taking place, it's the person's ego stepping forward to want to control their environment or seek safety. They don't feel safe on some level, or there's some aspect of themselves judging. It's the ego judging. And really, it has to do with, this is foundational spiritual psychology information, what I'm about to share, but it really has to do with 4 places inside the consciousness that could potentially the reason why the ego is judging. It's things that we do to ourselves inside but are not aware of doing, things we do to others but are not aware of doing, reflections having to do with our relationship with God, or things that we don't do inwardly or outwardly but judge as wrong when others do them because we have yet to make peace with the fact that we are quite capable of doing them given certain conditions. So those are the 4 indicators of why someone could be judging. It usually comes down to those 4 places inside consciousness. It's a place where we might not have acceptance of a behavior we're doing towards ourselves when we see it in someone else. Like positive self-talk. Let's use that as an example, right? You see someone having really beautiful like language around themselves, and if that person, like let's say it's me, say I didn't have positive self-talk towards myself, which is not true. I really have worked very hard in my life to have that. But I'll use it as an example. Say I didn't, and this person comes along and they're just like radiant and glowing, and they have like the most delicious language, and they've worked very a long time in their life to cultivate a loving inner language towards themselves, and they are sharing about it. Well, if I have an inward stance of knowing that I want to move into that place, but I'm not treating myself from that place, then the judgment can surface, because it's the outer reflection is a reflection of inner world reality. It's a mirror of like, oh wow, this is an opportunity for me. And if you don't see it as an opportunity, then judgment can take place. If that's a good example. Yeah.
Oh, it's so I'm sitting here like thinking about these judgments, all of the judgments, you know. I have a lot of people in my life who judge me for my expression. I'm sure that you have as well, because what happens with pattern breakers or with people who choose not to go with the flow of either the family flow or the social society flow, that it inspires people to attack. And I've been thinking a lot about it. I mean, there's lots of reasons why this might be a thing, right? And there's one of the things that I was thinking about is like when people attack because they feel unsafe, right? Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I spoke about on last night's show, which I don't know if if y'all are here watching from the Awakening World, last night's show was wildly profound. We had a woman named Erica who was at the Stonewall Inn when it was raided in 1969.
Wow.
And stemmed all the riots that created the Pride Parade the following year. Like, it was like her whole story was amazing. Anyway, we talked a little bit about judgments and shame last night, and I was thinking about when people attack people's expression. Did you know that in 1969, it was illegal to not dress it was illegal to dress outside of your gender. You get arrested. Yes, in New York City.
Wow.
Can you believe that? That was actually not that long ago. Wait, we're in 2023, so 53 years ago. It's actually not that far ago, and we're kind of going back into this place of like, you know, you're not allowed to dress in like any sort of non-gendered clothing in other states other than California and some other places too. So, I mean, we're kind of going backwards in time in some places. So I'm thinking about these shame and judgment, right? You know, and I'm thinking about kind of the experiences that I've been having around just my self-expression, being a certified sex and relationship coach. Man, Dawn, people have like some things to say to me about the moral conversation around what is sex, what is pleasure, like what I'm allowed to talk about based in their reality. And I was like, damn, this is what makes this life so beautiful, is the diversity, is the opportunity to see another person in their self-expression, to foster it and to fluff it and to make it safer for everyone to feel safe in their bodies and beings. Mm-hmm. So as I'm thinking about these people who are judging from unsafety, have you ever judged from a place of unsafety? I have.
Definitely. I think we're human. Every person has judged, but it's a daily practice to cleanse the lens of perception and not, hold judgment. Like my 7 years now into USM, like I really am. It's a practice. I have a spiritual practice to cleanse my lens of perception and not hold judgment towards anyone, which is really judgment is self-condemnation. At the end of the day, that's really what it is. It's self-condemn. So why are you, because life is a mirror. And so if you're not in acceptance of what you're seeing, it's because there's a part of you there's something inside that this is an opportunity for.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you brought that point up, is that any place that you're judging another person, or I'm judging another person, is a place where I couldn't even fathom sitting with my own judgments about myself. Because those are beliefs, right? And sometimes when we hold our beliefs so strongly that we force other people, like literally force, physically, emotionally, beat them, or like angrily force them, or press them into our belief system, that we're also, that's the place where we judge ourselves so deeply that we couldn't even love ourselves there. I have a post that I'm going to be posting here shortly about this exactly. And one of the things that I want to say is, for that which I reject in another is that which I cannot meet or accept in myself. And if we're sitting here on the self-love show thinking about what does judgment and shame have to do with self-love, and it really does look like that. It's like, so sometimes when I'm looking out in the world and I'm like, that, whatever it could be, because I also, remember I said, I also have judgments around how people treat each other. Here's an example. I'm just going to give you a funny example that happened recently. I was out with a friend. We were going to lunch, and we had ordered something we were going to share because big portions. And we're sitting there, and we ordered a couple little sides. The sides came out, and we were sitting there like for 20 minutes, like waiting for this other bit to come out. And I was like, do you want to go check to see if we ordered what we ordered? Because, I mean, there's always a mistake. There could be a mistake, you know? Not always a mistake, but there could be a mistake. And this person got up, was very hangry at this point, like hungry, and proceeded to kind of be like degrading and bratty to the people because they didn't hear that we wanted the chicken to share. And this person came back after another 5 or 10 minutes of like literally debating with these people and like arguing. And I was like, okay, I mean, I understand. And he was very upset. And I'm like, how did you treat that person? And he was like, well, that person made a mistake and now I'm uncomfortable and da da da. And I was like, okay, a right to comfort. I hear you. I hear that you feel entitled to your own comfort. I understand. Did you treat that person with love and respect? Well, that person didn't hear my order and they messed up and then wouldn't take accountability for it. And I was like, and then we proceeded to get into an argument, my friend and I, about the way that he treated this person. And he's, here you are judging and shaming me. And I was like, you're right. I am judging and shaming you. It's true. I am doing that. And I'm just trying to understand, what was the purpose of getting angry? Was it for you to express your anger or for you to make them feel bad? Like that was just really what I wanted to get to. And again, I'm not saying that we're all like shame and judgment are just going to go away. Again, these are pointers to things that we want, things that our values are, where our boundaries are. And we all have them. Like Dawn said, it is definitely a practice. And yes, Celeste, intention versus impact. I don't know if y'all heard, but intention is the road the road to hell. Right? But impact really is how, if we're slowing down to really look at how we're acting and behaving and watching the other person and attuning to the situation. So I'm just going to tell you how it wrapped up. So at some point I was like, all right, we're going to agree to disagree here. I don't believe that anyone deserves to be treated poorly or degraded for making a memory mistake. I don't believe that. But what I am going to do is that next time we go to a restaurant, I'm going to ask the waiter if that person will please read our order back to us, because I just want to make sure that I got my order right. Like I said what I needed to say, because I don't want to be put in that position where I'm uncomfortable again. And this person looked at me like, my friend was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, you can behave the way that you want to behave. If you're going to argue with me about how your behavior is, I love you there. Be angry. But I'm going to make decisions that protect me and other people.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And it's all about shaming him. And I was like, of course, I'm sorry that I shamed you. I won't do that. These are my values. This is what it looks like for me. And I still love you. And then we were like, we looked at each other, we hugged, and then we kept moving on. And it was Winston's birthday. So we went and gave him sushi. like it's like things like that, this daily practice of choosing not to judge and choosing to really like protect yourself in your own values and systems. That is where we get to choose how to show up outside of our judgments. Like, we're going to get into more understanding of how to step out of judgment and how to step out of shame. And I also know that Dawn has a ton of information about this as well.
Well, I just want to share the opportunity, like leveraging everything as an opportunity for your awakening is a really key ingredient to awakening on the planet. And as a spiritual psychology coach and spiritual psychology lover, devotee, I should say, I really have a deep insight into when things come forward in our life that are challenging. It is an opportunity, and even if it's judgment or shame. And I'll use my own like really challenging moment that I occurred in my life a few months ago, right when the like eclipses were taking place. This was so big, and honestly, it was a huge crescendo of a long-standing pattern for me. But it occurred in a work environment, and I was really, really shamed in a yes, it does perpetuate separation. I was really shamed for my way of being and the way I was presenting myself and coaching. And it was in an environment that I was hired to coach for someone, and they have very, very strong perceptual need to do it their way. And I'll never be able to do something someone else's way. I'm my own being. And it was right trying to override my authentic expression. And I was keen and aware of it when it was happening, but I was very aware that did not feel good. And I was very much in my loving. I didn't derail from my neutrality, which was really a key ingredient for me to see my healing, because I could feel that it was my 7-year-old self or my 6-year-old self, really that deep, deep wound of how my father used to punish me as a child. And the pressuring and the like, you're doing it wrong, that you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong, over and over and over again. And I knew that was what was going on, and simultaneously was able to be neutral and verbally explain articulately, which shows me my healing, right? But I walked away from that experience and I sat in it, and I sat in it and sat in it and just was like, okay, God, I get that every moment in my life is a relationship with you. And I get that this difficult experience was still an opportunity for me. And what is this? And I really sat with it and really prayed on it and meditated and meditated. And I was like, what is this feeling? This feeling in it is like a sense of deep judgment, shaming me. What is this exactly about for me? And I got really clear. It was the face of not rejection, but like dismissed or disregard. And I sat with that feeling of disregard and really was with it, and just was being with the feeling and like allowing myself to really feel it. And it hit me because I was like, man, I have done so much work with my father, like beyond. I mean, my whole time in graduate school was in service of completing our curriculum together. And that happened. My dad left the planet and is no longer here in body. And I really do feel deep completion with him. I was like a little bit floored. Like, I know it's not my father. I could feel it in myself. Like, I could feel it's not about dad anymore in that experience. But what is this? And I just really prayed about it and put it in the light, did bedtime intention around it, and bam, it came forward. It was my 7-year-old, but it had to do with the emotional neglect that was never processed around that event. The
Mm.
emotional neglect that was occurring from my mom, from experiencing that from my mom, which set that whole scenario up to happen to begin with. And that judgment and shame was, believe it or not, even though it was very much her ego creating it, there's some underneath current that's spirit driving it, that reflection was for me, even in its hardest experience. And I did deep healing with myself. I just laid in the bed and went inwardly to the young one. I talked with the young one. I cried. I worked with the emotional neglect. I did self-forgiveness with my mom, my father, the person that I had the event with. Like, I did Ho'oponopono release. I mean, I spent like hours and hours. I journaled, I wrote, I burned it, I cried. I did my process. I worked my process with that reflection. And I had simultaneously another person come in that gave me a very similar at the same time. It was practically in the same week. And I worked with both of those to leverage the freedom of the trapped emotional energy that was still there from my 7-year-old or 6-year-old, however, that time period. And honestly, a major shift took place in my work and my life after that, because I like released it and brought it back into a place of love and connection and connectivity inside of myself and for all members and parties, because the truth is we're not separate. It's an illusion to believe we're separate. And so I sent them love and blessing and just was like, I love you, bless you. It's okay. We're not going to be in this work environment together anymore. I release myself. I release you. It's all in service. And I don't know what God has in store for me, but I'm willing to find out. And I just released it all. And then bam, a whole new crescendo of like blessings came into my life because I leaned all the way in around
Yes.
judgment and shame.
So this is what we're talking about, right? Like, every one of us has judgment and shame. One of us feels the judgment and shame. To be on the other side of someone's judgment and shame feels like, I'm gonna be quick. It's like, what it feels like to me to be on someone's judgment for just being myself. Like, you got to remember that there's, oh my God, I mean, I think like 8.5 billion people roughly now, 8.1 billion people, maybe more now, on this planet, and that there are 8 point something billion realities, give or take, people who have multiple realities in there that they live in. And what I mean by this is, like, we're all living are trying to live our most best life with the strategies that we learned how to get our needs met. Our brain and body, we're trying to do these things, right? So we're all just trying to be humans in a really weird human system. And when someone comes up and is like, Dawn, that way that you wear those cute earrings, oh God, like, does she have to? Like, just, it's like that. It's like then on the inside, I mean, even the game, that just like little play right there probably felt a little bit icky for you. When someone shows up and judges me for just being myself, for, let's say, my hair color or my skin color, or because I like to wear a mustache sometimes, or because I'm loud and playful, or because I've been sick, or because if someone wants to shame me or judge me for not behaving in accordance to their life, values, systems, whatever, and they want me to conform to their reality, it feels like they're taking my heart and shoving it in to a box that's smaller than it can fit. It makes my stomach turn in knots. It makes my rib cage tighten. It tells me that those people are not safe. for me to be around
Mhm.
because they're not safe inside of them, that they have to use violence of some kind to get their needs met and to show safety. Now, I'm also not saying that there's a time and a place for violence. But in most society, it's not the time. So when we're talking about judgments and shame, I'm talking about the chemical addiction to it. I'm talking about the impact on personal, whether when I'm judging or when I'm being judged. And I'm also talking about the impact on another person when I'm judging or being judged. Like it is literally a system that we're all swimming in. And there's ways to get out of this. We get to choose that. Just like you heard Donna's inner work or my inner work. We get to choose how we show up in the world. And if we're going to choose love, let's choose love. But if you're going to choose violence, be honest about it. Right now, you know what? Actually, I just want to judge you because judging you means that I get to be right. And it means that I get to feel protected in my personality, identity, and ego and the way that that is structured. And I want to do that. Like that's what my reality, that is my integrity, and that's what I want. Great. Then I will self-select out of your life. Thank you very much. But it's like we get to be honest about how we're going to show up. Now, if I want to choose love, then I'm going to choose love. And I hope to God that if I'm judgy, that if that person knows that I'm choosing love and I'm being judgy, that they're gonna be like, yo, Trish, you're being judgy. You're like, oh, you're right. I'm not choosing love right now. Thank you for the reminder. This is how we can love each other. Right? I mean, you even called me this morning on a self-judgment. And I was like, you're right. I don't need to judge myself for feeling unstable in a situation. Why don't I take a step back? Understand that just because I know now what I didn't know, a week ago, let's just accept that. I know, bantery.
Beautiful.
I do have a practice, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to take the floor if you wanted to share more about some judgments.
Lead us into the practice. We're good into the show, so do it.
All right. So if you're listening to this show and you rolled your eyes at least once, I invite you to kind of take a moment and play this out with me. Like take this next sort of practice as a game and just try it on. So think about a judgment that you have, either on yourself or with another person or with a society or with a group of people. Just take your judgment and give yourself an opportunity to feel it. And if you're alone, or even if you're not alone, maybe you're doing this practice with another person, really allow yourself to feel the judgment. Truly give yourself the opportunity to experience your fear, your disgust, your frustration, your annoyance, and say it out loud. Ugh, gross. Whatever it may be. If you are in a space that you can say it out loud, please do. And this is where you get to honor your own emotions and sensations. This is the opportunity for you now to just take that moment. Ugh, gross. I feel sad and frustrated and scared, and I feel like my rib cage is collapsing in on itself, and I can feel fire in my chest and my jaw is clenching, whatever it might be for you. Give yourself an opportunity to feel it, like really. And then as you take another nice deep breath in, pause with it and ask, what's the value or need that's not being met for me right now? So maybe it's a judgment on another person and they're expressing themselves in a way that you just find repulsive. What is the value or need that is not being met right now? for you? Is it to be seen, to be understood, to be safe, to be heard? Maybe it's something like you want to belong, or maybe it's just you want to understand and you don't know, you're confused. What's not being met for you right now? Now, if you want an advanced practice, you can find a way, like ask yourself, can I find a way to self-resource and meet that need for myself without making another person wrong or bad? But if you're not there yet, no worries. Again, we're asking ourselves, what is the value or need that is not being met right now? Why am I judging this person, or why am I judging myself? What do I want? What is underneath that? What do I need? And so once you're feeling a little bit more settled in meeting your own feelings, like again, saying this out loud, you're giving yourself the opportunity to really see you. Remember, your judgments are pointers to your wants, needs, and values, right? So once you're settled in meeting your own feelings and needs with compassion, and you're feeling more centered, step into the other person's shoes. Or if it's a self-judgment, step into the shoes of your best friend, looking in. Someone who loves you wildly. So with the intention to understand and connect, can you find a place to connect to their basic needs for food, shelter, water, sleep? If you're looking from another person's perspective on you, can you see yourself? Can you be like, gosh, this person really needs food, shelter, water, and sleep? Can I just connect person to person, just like everyone else in the world needs these basic needs? Now, can you go a little deeper and ask yourself, can I connect with their safety, with their need for safety, connection, protection, to be seen, heard, and valued, just for being themselves? Now, if you can go a little bit deeper, can you connect your own need with their need for self-expression? Can you see it in the other person, like, oh, that person wants to express themselves? And just like the silly example that I used with Dawn's earrings earlier, like, oh, that person expresses themselves through earrings and through the way that they present, or through the way that they sing or create art, or their safety strategies. Maybe they're agoraphobic and they sit in their house. Who knows what it is? Maybe they're neurotic with food. It's a thing. Like, can I just connect with their self-expression in knowing that I have my own needs for self-expression? Now, I want you to think about a time. Just can you think of a time when you were desperate to express yourself or to be safe? And the strategy you were using at the time was inefficient or ineffective, but you used it because you had learned it early on in childhood. And when you've got it, can you see maybe that other people didn't like that either? And that you grew, or you shifted a little to this, or you dialed it in to live more in your integrity. Well, that other person has also those strategies too that they learned early on. Now pause here until you feel a softening in your jaw, in your stomach. Pause here in that person's shoes until you feel curiosity about their deep longings, about their life, about their pains, and about their dreams. Until you feel the curiosity of, what is under that strategy for self-expression? I wonder what their experience is. Take a deep breath in. These are practices that get to happen daily, right? So coming back to this little cycle, like, okay, can I pause here in this other person's shoes? Now, here's another advanced practice. If you can see, just imagine where both you share the same needs, but how vastly different your strategies are for meeting those needs. I also have a need for self-expression, just like Dawn. I just express myself differently. The reason why we love each other and our relationship is freaking like solid and ironclad is that I don't try to control her expression. She doesn't try to control mine. In fact, we're like, ooh, I see you doing this thing that you're doing, and it's fabulous. It looks good on you. I love this for you. Not hurting anyone. So again, I'm going to run down the steps just one more time. Feel your judgment. Give yourself an opportunity to honor your sensations, your emotions, and what's under that. Pause and ask yourself, what is the value or need that is not being met right now? Once you feel like you've really acknowledged and met yourself and your own needs, stop. Put yourself in that other person's perspective. Can you connect to that other person's basic needs for safety, food, shelter, water, protection, self-expression, to belong? Can you just connect with them? Then can you step into their shoes and get curious about who that other human being, that living being is? Can you lean in, get curious about their lived experience, about their strategies for self-expression or protection or safety or whatever it might be? And really see if you can see where you're sharing the same, but the strategies are vastly different. I really appreciate you taking the time today to drop into a practice of loving, because I know that these practices can be difficult every week. But it gets easier, I swear.
Here, it becomes a spiritual practice. Thank you for doing that.
You know, Dawn, I love humans like a whole lot. I like a whole lot. And one of the things that I've learned, especially going through Bridges course, the Heal Thyself, a Transformative Initiation for People Racialized as White, that course, I was really angry for a long time. You remember, like, it took me a long time to really like figure myself out after that. And one of the biggest things that I got from that course is I can't change anything that I can't love. I won't change anything that I don't love. And that the place where I judge or hate or make wrong is the place that I'm creating a separation. And so after that course, I felt very angry about a lot of historical systems. And I felt really angry about myself and how I was walking in ways that I've perpetuated harm just by being oblivious to them. And I was very angry with how I've been treated by men. I was very angry with men, and I was like, I can't love men if I'm mad at them. I can't love myself if I'm mad at myself. Like, I can't change any of these things if I can't love them. I'm not changing men. I'm not but I have masculine qualities, right? So I get to love those qualities into acceptance. And that's one of the practices. Like, this is the practice that I'm sure someone else has created it. I just came up with it, and this is the practice that I like to do. I like to put myself into another person's shoes to remind myself that I am them and they are me. Mm-hmm. And just like Ram Dass says, I'm going to butcher the saying, but it's like, imagine this other person is God in drag. Like, honestly, this person right in front of me is me. I am them. We are expressions of our divine experience on this planet. And can I just see and celebrate your vast human wildlife for all that you are and the courage that you have to wake up every day and go through the world as you are? Can I walk the path hand in hand with you, side by side, shoulder to shoulder, just to walk this path of your self expression with you? Because that's what love is. We're just exploring. Like, I didn't come with a manual. I've read a lot. I might have a PhD in humaning. You probably do too. We took very different, but it's like we're all still just learning the deeper parts of ourselves. Can I just walk with you in that journey of you exploring your own reality? Fuck yeah. Because I want to love you, Dawn. Like, that's the thing. I want to love everyone that I invest my time with. I want to love all the humans in the world.
Beautiful. I think it's really helps cultivate greater happiness within if you are releasing judgments constantly, releasing the lid of shame that you accept as yours, from life experiences, reflections that we receive, and work with it when it comes forward. And again, I want to say, use everything, leverage everything for your awakening and your opportunity on this planet, because we're here for that. We're here for awakening. We're here to experience the greatest capacity of love and loving inside our consciousness. And it's consciousness seeking to expand itself through us, through our loving. And we're learning how to do this. We're learning how to be human and learn the process of awakening here. And I find that the more I use the principles of spiritual psychology, the tools, the judgment release, and just more and more move into a state of compassion for myself, for others, for what I see. I may not approve of, I'll use the person that was really, yesterday I had a crazy person, like literally like a street person. I pulled up to a red light and he was very aggressive towards me. And I just moved into like a place of acceptance of like, whoa, you're being really aggressive. And I'm just, soon the light's going to change and I can drive away. But I just sent him love and was like, God bless you. He was never going to receive that from me because he was very angry, and I just, yeah, I just sent him love because that's all I could do in that moment. There was nothing I could do to change his behavior or mind, and it's not about that. It was just like, oh, I can even accept this angry person and it's not about me. It was not about me, clearly. But for whatever reason, he felt the need to make faces at me and like literally poke at me. I was like, wow, okay. And I just had to move into acceptance and just move into compassion for this person is suffering. This person is suffering.
I often wonder, the strategy to poke to get a response. I actually see that a lot, right? So you all have, some of you have watched me for a long time, for the last few years. And you hear me say these things over and over again. And it's like sometimes I'm really, what has really helped me is doing the self-empathy tool, because now I understand my own strategies to get my needs met. The ones that are like really loving myself and loving others, and these other ones that I learned in childhood or I learned other ways that I'm like, wow, where did I come up with that? That is some abusive stuff, or that is manipulation, or like I learned. And there's a lot of like weird social stuff that comes on with it too. And one of the things that I think about now is like people's strategies to get needs for attention or needs for safety or needs for protection, and how people will manipulate reality to get those needs met. And I think about that all the time. Like I literally, here's another one of the things. I should just create a list about all the things that keep me awake at night. And this is one of those things. This keeps a lot of people awake. It's like, why did they do that? But when I'm thinking about people who are provoking on purpose to get a response to validate their reality. Let's say it again. When people provoke another person to get a response to validate their reality. And what I mean by this is, I'm going to give you an example, is like I used to provoke an ex-boyfriend to abandon me. Like I would be so aggressive so that he would abandon me so that I could be right. Right? This is like an existential kink bit. Unconscious.
Validating the story of I'm going to be abandoned.
Right. Again, it's totally unconscious. I'm not doing it on purpose. The strategy that I learned to get my need for safety was control, suffocation, manipulation, which that's what I was told that's what I could, the more I can control, the more that I get safety. Well, I don't know about you, but 36 years on this planet has told me that it's literally the opposite of what actually needs to happen. So when I'm thinking about this guy of the story you're telling, I'm like, wow, he's provoking you to get a response, to get a reaction, to get a need met. And so honestly, to be really honest, this is how I think about all human beings. I'm like, oh, well, that was a really interesting strategy to get a need met. I wonder what that was about. And then I'm like, what are you wanting right now? What is it that you need? Like, I'm just wildly curious. I no longer have, like, most of the time. Again, don't get me wrong, I'm a human being. Please don't put me on a pedestal here. I want to be a human. I mess up all the time. But I'm also like, I'm so curious. Tell me more about why you did that. Tell me more about what you want. And it takes the judgment and the shame and the drama, the whole freaking drama of it. You know what? I want
You have to wait for that person to be, if they're angry, you have to wait for that person to not be in an angry space to have that conversation, because there was no way I could have approached it from that place yesterday, when it happened, and the light was about to change, and I drove off because the light was green and I had to. But it was such a short interaction, but in that moment I was like, wow, this person is super angry at life. And I was representing whatever to them, the person that I was representing, it being me in my Honda Odyssey, driving forward. I just was flabbergasted at how, like, angry, and he just was so clearly needing to make faces at me. And yeah, it was okay. I was in acceptance, like, okay, I don't need to, I get it. You're angry. I'm here with you.
It's true.
Yeah.
I want to find a meme right now because it's just so perfect. It's about, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. This guy shows up and he's like interviewing this other guy about someone's behavior, and the guy goes off on the guy. He's like, don't take it personally. They're just living their life. I'm just going to find it for a hot second. Give me 1 second. I know I sent it to someone recently. Because it's like, it was so clean. Like the way that he shared it was so clean. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to mute for a moment.
Okay. I mean, that's how I felt yesterday. I was like, wow, I am just going to move into compassion for this person's experience, because there's nothing I could say or do that's going to shift his paradigm. He was clearly needing to rant and be angry, and I just happened to be the person pulling up. Yeah, and I just was like, wow. But I did feel a sense of unsafetyness inside it did provoke a sense of unsafety, but I chose to be in loving regardless. I was like, I'm just gonna be in loving towards this person, because adding to the fuel to the fire is not gonna support anything.
And for what purpose?
Right.
Like literally, for what purpose would that benefit you?
I was in
Or
a good vibrational place. I was happy. I was like driving, rapping out to my song on the radio, thinking about things I needed to do. It was in a good space. I wasn't in a vibrational stance of like, rah.
exactly. Okay, so here, are you ready for this? This is so good. I'm so excited about this right now. Okay.
People just walking in front of it like we're not recording.
It happens. People are people. None of it's intentional. No tribute to malice, but can be attributed to incompetence. It's far more likely that they're all in their own worlds, doing their own thing. They're not paying attention to the world around them. And we all do it every day, whether you're driving, walking down the street. All of our lives are just as complex as everybody else's. Everything you have going on, they have going on. Nobody knows what everybody else is going through. We also need to be a little more self-aware and aware of the world around us.
That was deep.
You got to look deep to find the deep things. If all you ever do in your life is stay at the surface, you'll never find anything worth exploring.
Are you real?
I try to be.
Are you an AI?
No, not at all.
That's awesome.
Do you see why I shared it? It's like, I mean, that was so clean. That was so clean. I was like, wow, just homeboy walking around, just, hey, don't take it personally. Everyone else is living their
Yes.
lives. They're humaning all together.
Thanks for the show.
Nice face. He's like, I figured out the whole universe. The stuff I find just makes me, I love social media, and I know that there's a lot of research that's bad for your brain. I love TikTok. Do you know how much I like giggle and laugh at those amazing self-expressions of people just doing their cool little thing? And God, I mean, it saved me through the pandemic. I was like, there were some moments where I was real depressed there at the beginning of the pandemic, and I laughed so hard. So long that I was like, okay, thank you.
Laughter is medicine.
Yeah. So,
Laughter is medicine for the soul.
again, just coming back to judgment. Oh, and that is one of the things. That's how I'm like, oh, being judgy again. Like you and I have like the banter too around finding comedy or the humor in just like the breakdown when it's time, not up front, but when it's time. There's like, okay, well, that's just coming back to judgment and to judgments of self and to judgments of other. And again, it's really like, can we step out of judgment to get curious about another person's life? Whether that's, why is this person transitioning? What is true for them? Why is this person behaving the way they are? Why did this person think that this was the right action? What is this person, if in their argument, or what is when you do something and you need to like justify it, and then what's that, like the justification? What are they hiding, but what are they trying to protect themselves from? What is it? Can we shift the mindset just a slight bit to get curious about what the other person is experiencing, even if I feel harmed, or even if I feel like the victim, or even if I feel disempowered in the situation? What is that? And I mean, I can go into some pretty heavy topics around some experiences I've had in my life, and I spent a lot of time as like, why did they do what they do? And I always came back to that person. I don't think was coming from malice. That person wasn't coming from malice. That this person was coming from to get a need met, or they were trying to express themselves or express their love in a way that was unsafe for me. They didn't know that. So can we slow it down? Take a moment to take a deep breath. That practice that we did, that can be done in like 30 seconds or less. Practice it a few times. It's just about practice. It's about choosing to green light. So one of my previous partners, Misha Byro, he taught me this, to green light someone. So that means to look at them as a full, complex, beautiful human doing the best they can with the tools they got, to actually, like, they're in, like, not to put a filter on them that makes them bad, wrong, less than human, worthy of degradation. None of that. But to actually green light them, to put a filter of, this person has all the tools they need, they're a good person, and they're a loving person. Why would they do what they do? So if we can just slow it down, green light the person, and get curious about their experiences, even if I'm hurting, without the expectation of being heard on the other side. That's why you have a therapist or a best friend or like, people in your life that you can talk to those things about those things too. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. This is the action of building a more loving world. Being a little bit more generous with our time, with our attention, with our full disclosure, with our feelings, with our curiosity, and leaving the judgments behind, or being honest about them. I feel really judgy right now about these epic earrings, and it's mostly because I want them. I really do like these earrings. I'm just like doing lightning examples for them. You know what I mean? It's like what is in it? What is inside of me that causes me to make someone else wrong?
It's a practice of self-awareness. Are you dedicated to a practice of self-awareness, becoming fully self-realized,
Yes.
awakening to like the greater self inside, and not residing from an ego's perspective, and actually like training your ego to listen to your higher self. It's daily practice, a daily practice. And that's why we use tools. We use tools and share tools, and it's truly a heart-centered experience and practice, soul-centered approach.
For the seeking or the act of coming back into connection.
Mm-hmm.
I'm invested in getting curious, learning about what it is in me, to dissolve the judgment inside of me, so that I can stay curious about your experience, so I can be connected with you.
Beautiful.
Right? We all have that opportunity. Don and I have shared many stories and many ways that we chose to show up in compassion, connection, and non-judgment. Practice that I shared is just one of the many ways that you can find a way out of judgment. Esther Perel, as well as Brene Brown, as well as there are many other people. Resma Menakem have amazing practices of coming back into heart-centered self-awareness, as well as non-judgment and stepping out of shame and judgment about each other. So if this resonated with you, this show, remember to go like or share it out, or send some, comments or something like that. And
also, if you have a show in mind that you really have like, oh my gosh, do it on this topic, reach out to us. Send it in the comments. Let us know, because this is for you. We're here to serve you. We bring forward topics and create topics and pull people onto the show that we feel are amazing, and we do this all in service for you.
Well, dear loves, thank you for showing up today for yourselves and for us. And I want to say thank you to Scott Thomas for not only just jumping on today, but for being the muse, and for, helping us host it on Global Peace Tribe, Sign Network, Love Coach Academy. Thank you to Scott, or to Roy and Russell, for making this whole thing work. Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Daniel, for showing up. And you know what? I'll see you here, and you, Dawn, here, same time next week, right? It's a date.
Yes. Next
All
week.
right.